Hi, and welcome to this video on teamwork in ATLAS.ti, again based on the third edition of the book Qualitative Data Analysis with ATLAS.ti. So I'm going to change back and forth between the presentation to just give you some general information about what is important when you work in a team, and then we of course also look at ATLAS.ti and go back and forth between the implementation, how you actually do it in Atlas, and what you need to know about basic project management in ATLAS.ti. Basically that's what it's all about. And when I was writing about it, I was actually viewing a performance similar to what you see here on the picture, and I felt that was very much the way what you also need to do in Atlas. You need to be in sync. You need to know what you're doing, what every team member is doing. You need to be able to rely on each other, that nobody is deleting stuff and the other doesn't know about it. And it needs to be, in Atlas, it needs to actually start from one person. So you need to have one designated project manager that is doing a number of tasks we will see on next slides. And the other things that the other thing that might be good to check is the user accounts. ATLAS.ti does create them automatically. So maybe you want to know under what kind of username you're actually working. Usually it's the one that's used on your computer. Under Tools and Support, you'll find the Manage User tab. So I see here I'm Susanne, and if you don't like whatever username Atlas is using, so you can either rename it or add a new user. If you add a new user, then you have to switch users. Then you go to switch user and then log in under a different username. So this is here under Tools and Support. Before we move into team projects, you should know generally what happens when you set up a project, because that will also then help you to see what you need to do in a team project. It's not that many things. Basically, we'll see it's kind of like two things you need to be aware of, and if you're not, then you might be in trouble. But so these two things that you need to be aware of are important. So when you set up a project, you will add documents to your Atlas project. All text, PDF, image files are automatically copied and imported. For larger files like audio and video files, that video files can sometimes be 250 megabytes, even larger than that, gigabyte size. You don't want to import them, because when you import the files, they are copied. So you don't want to actually copy another few gigabytes of material onto your computer. That's why you have the option to link. We'll talk more about that when we set up a team project, but that's kind of the general first thing that you need to know of. If you add documents to a project, they are copied. Second thing, they receive a unique ID, like your fingerprint. It's unique in the entire world. Same thing with any Atlas document that you add to a project. It receives a unique ID. And based on that ID, Atlas recognizes what are the same or different documents. So it's not the document name, it's not the document content, it is that ID. All the files are stored internally in Atlas, in the Atlas library. I can show you later where that library is located. On the Windows computers, it is in a hidden folder. You can access this if you know how to get there, but basically the library should be actually a location that only Atlas deals with. So it should not be somewhere where you can, or somebody can mess around with it, or something that you accidentally delete, because then your project data are basically corrupted or gone. I have opened up already here in my file manager is the update roaming folder, and you can get there if you type in the search field at the bottom left of your screen %up data %, and then Windows will directly bring you there. And then you see all of these other programs that also add data here into this folder. So it's not an Atlas specific thing. It's actually something that Microsoft has created for programs to store their data there. But the default library is under Atlas 8, and here you see all kinds of files. That's why you, as user, normally should not actually go in there. And these are the unique IDs I've been talking about. So you don't recognize your document names or your documents anymore. It's not your document names anymore. When Atlas imports the file, then it converts it kind of into an Atlas document, and they receive this unique ID. So that's why you should never ever mess with the libraries. Just leave this for Atlas to manage your data, and if there's a need to create your own libraries or your own locations, then don't put those stuff on the desktop or other places where it's not safe, and best also at the location where it is in your normal backup routine, so that in addition to a project bundle you also have a backup of your library in case something goes wrong. Yeah, so this is where the default library lives. So everything is stored internally in Atlas, and the only external file that you can grab is when you export your project and create a project bundle file. And that project bundle file, that's your backup of your project, and also that file that you can give to somebody else or move with you when you work on a different computer. Otherwise, you just open Atlas and your projects are going to be there. It's kind of the iTunes principle. Yeah, you have added all your music into iTunes. You don't know where your MP3 files are. Well, just iTunes is managing those files. And then if you want to listen to some music, you open iTunes, and there they are, like these boxes with your cover of the title of the different singers or orchestras and whatever. And then you just click on it, and you can play the music. Same with Atlas projects. You open Atlas, and there are these little boxes there, which are the icons for your projects. You click on it, and your project opens. So you don't have to know where Atlas stores the projects and the documents that belong to a project. Atlas takes care of that for you. So that should be rather simple. The only thing you need to know are that files are copied and receive that unique ID, and that you need to create a project bundle file to have like a physical file that you can move around or store somewhere as a backup. So if you now move on to team projects, knowing about that unique ID means that the designated project administrator needs to set up the project. Because if all our team members here, the green, the blue and yellow one, would set up the project, adding the documents, we would have the same documents, if they all add the same documents, always different IDs. Yeah, so assume we have 10 documents that we want to analyze, and each of our team members, the red and the green and the blue and the yellow one, are creating their own project with those 10 documents. We're gonna end up having 40 documents in the end, even though they have the same content, but they will have different unique IDs. Each 4 of the team members for each of the 10 documents. So that's 10 times 4, 40 documents then if you merge the project. So that's what we don't want. We want just 10 documents that our team is supposed to analyze. So the project manager is setting up the project and does everything that should be shared in the team. We'll talk some more about that. Might be other items than that. That's just the documents. Create the project bundle file and distribute that project bundle file to all team members. So here are the tasks of the project manager. Yeah, so the project manager creates a new project, and if you work with the book alongside, that's skill training 3.1. Adds the documents to the project, same skill training, and then organizes documents into document groups. These can be document groups for analysis purposes, but also for management purposes. Yeah, so the project administrator can already decide, well, you know, we want to split the coding work, so Lisa, Mary, and Tom should code these documents and then create document groups and add all those documents that are for the different team members in the project. So that's also another way of using document groups just for management purposes. I'm here now in Atlas, and I'm starting out with an empty library, so the whole thing is not so crowded, so we only end up with the team projects in here. And I guess maybe a good idea to, before I start, is to talk a bit more about the library, because there's always some confusion about it. If you need a new library, you can click on options, but all projects need to be closed to do that because you can also move the library, and so of course you cannot move a library if the project is already open. So if you click on switch library, you can move the library to a different location, or create a library, a complete new one somewhere else. There is nothing like a shared library. So people coming from version 7, they kind of still have that in mind, that you could have a shared library on a server. That's no longer possible. So if you are the project administrator and you, for whatever reason, cannot or don't want to work on the C drive in that default location, yeah, there are sometimes, you know, the security issues that not allow people to work there, so they have to be behind whatever firewall on the server, and so on. So then create a new empty library on that location where you need to or want to work, and work from there. If you give the project bundle file to your team members, if they unpack it, the data will be in the default library in the C location, no matter what library you have created. So if also the team members need to work somewhere else than on the C drive, please instruct your team members to create a library first, and then open up to that library when they unpack that project. Otherwise, all the data will be also in the default location on the C drive. So every team member has their own his or her own library and is also responsible for that. Again, also your team members should take good care of that library, and again, don't put it on the desktop. But of course, if data security issues, well, you know, you already know that you're not supposed to put your data there. The library can also be not in the cloud. A cloud has the advantage for some cases that is going to synchronize across different devices. But that's exactly not what you want with your Atlas projects. You don't want any other application doing with your data whatever. You want Atlas to manage your data. And if you put it in the cloud, Atlas has no control of your data anymore. Yeah, and Atlas prevents you putting the library in the cloud, the kind of standard clouds there are, but there are also maybe cloud solution Atlas is not aware of. So please don't outsmart the system, because you might ruin your project. So that's not really worth it. So any server would do, I have a D drive on my computer, any external drive would do. Yeah, but it needs to be like a proper drive, not something in the cloud. Yeah, so that's the issue of that. You have to think about the libraries up front. Where should your project data be stored? Potentially, you could create a library for every project. But I just have like different purpose type libraries for different things I'm doing. But I think I might be in that also an exception, that I have tons of different libraries for different purposes. But that purpose could always be also in your situation, always like a different project or project that need to be kept separately because of data security, for instance. So I create a new project now, and well, let's just stay with whatever I had in my PowerPoint. So I just call it Project X. So I'm adding documents, and as we see here, you also have the option to link audio and video files. In a team project, it doesn't have really an advantage because you need to share projects via a project bundle file. And currently you cannot create project bundle files without excluding those linked files. So as soon as you create a project bundle file, the videos will be imported and will be part of the project bundle file. So those project bundle files can actually get quite large. That's not an optimal solution. The workaround kind of is to just create smaller bundles, because not everybody will probably code all documents. So just create bundles that only include a few of your video files that you then distribute to the team members. So now I just have a few test documents here that I'm going to add. So I'm adding some codes. So we can produce some conflicts here. So yeah, we need to make definition 3. I create a group 1, and I create a group 2. You could also create some document groups here. So now I've added some documents, I added some codes and some code groups, document groups, and some definitions. So I'm saving that project now. And I create a project bundle file. So I export the project. If you don't see these two export formats, then you need to update to version 8.4. So here now we have Project X, my username, and today's date as the bundle name, and I just put this project to the desktop. I've done everything that I need to do as a project administrator, setting up the project, and now I email it, the project bundle file, or load it onto a server, whatever, to my team members and ask them to code. And these are the tasks, or the common task of all team members: saving the project bundle file when they receive it from the project manager. So they also have like a personal copy of it whether it's on their desktop or on a server, some private space they have. And then they import that master project bundle file and then they rename it. In the Windows version, you have an option to rename the project when you import it. So I recommend that you add the coder's name or initial. The reason for that is that we have one master project file and it has the same name that goes to all the team members. So if the team members import it and don't change the name, then if you give the project bundle back to the project administrator, the project administrator has different projects from different people that all have the same name. That can only make things complicated. So do your project administrator a favor and add your name when you import the file. In case you forgot, well, close the project after you import it, and then you can rename the project, as you can see on the bottom right of the slide. In the Mac version, you don't have that rename option. While you import, you just import the project and go to project and rename and give it a different name. Then you work on the project as instructed if you were a team member, and then once you're done with your work, you export the project by creating a project bundle file again and send it back to the project administrator. The project administrator will merge the project and will distribute it again. We will go through the motion now when we talk about these different scenarios. So one thing that might also need to be added at the stage when the project administrator is creating the project are the codes. Because also the codes, when you add codes to a project, they receive a unique ID. The same with documents. So if you have a common set of codes that you want to share, then you or the project administrator adds all those codes already to the master project. Yeah. And what we would see here, what we see also on this slide, is kind of the naming convention. So project X here stands for whatever your project name is. In the Windows version, if the project is exported, the name of the project administrator is added to the file name and the date of exporting. That is interesting because then you know when the file was exported, because you never know what your file manager is doing. So if the file is uploaded, that can be uploaded, the project bundle file, to a cloud drive, Dropbox, can be sent via email, whatever. And then it depends on when the team members download the project or, save it from their emails, because then their file manager will add that date of the download, or when saving the project file, and not when the project was created. But from the file name, this is the date when that project bundle was created and by whom. The project itself still has the name project X, or whatever your project name is. That part of it, the name and the date, is only part of the project bundle file. So you need to think of the project bundle file like a package. And in that package you have the project file, the ATLAS project file with all the codings, memos, comments and so on. and you have all the documents that belong to the project. So that is bundled in the project bundle file, and then the name of that bundle file is the name that is on top of the package, and that name can be different from the project name. And the way the Windows version does it, by adding the name and the date. So that's the name on top of on the outside of the package, indicating kind of what's in there, who's sending it, and when it was sent. Yeah, like, you know, the postage stamp, so to speak. But inside the package, that project still has the same name. So when you unpack the project bundle file, even with the name date here, that's not part of the project name. So let's now move on to the next stage of this. So all team members import the project and rename it. So we already talked about that. So they do their work and export the project again. And as they have renamed their project, now we have project X, Coder 1, Coder 2, Coder 3. So that's the project name. And then automatically Atlas adds the name of the user and the date. So then the project manager knows where the project coming from and when were they sent, or when were they created, basically, not sent. And the project names here are project X underscore Coder 1, project X underscore Coder 2, project X underscore Coder 3. So then the project manager unpacks those projects. These will be the names, not the name and the date. And then the project manager merges the projects, and we will go through the steps of merging as well, and create a new master file. And again, the project manager merges it into the old master, so the project again is just called project X. And we have again her name as on the outside of the package and the new date when it was merged. So you don't have to write, you know, merge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You always know it by the date. And then that file is distributed again. Yeah, and then you can have multiple cycles of those. But it always have to kind of follow that workflow. Project administrator, team member, project administrator, team member. When something needs to be added to the project that should be for everyone, then the project administrator should do it at the time of merging, like adding new documents or adding another set of codes. Another workflow is if you start with different documents, then it does make sense that you start with a common code list. If everybody is starting to code, then in coding all of the data, not with the purpose of developing a code list in a team, then if it does make sense to have like a common set of codes. Otherwise, when you merge, if you have all different codes, and then it's very difficult to just discuss those and get it all together. Yeah. So this scenario is kind of made for, there is already a set list of codes that either has been developed before in a previous step before this, and then everybody codes their own documents. That means the project administrator only adds the codes because again they have this unique ID, and then distributes the master project file with the code list to all of the team members. Yeah, same naming convention as before. And then everybody in the team adds their set of documents, codes with the codes that are already there. Maybe add some other codes if the code list needs to be extended, and then exports the project. And here the example is, well, they have data from different regions, so it makes sense to call the project project X region 1, 2, and 3. And then also the project manager, of course, knows where these projects are coming from and can merge the projects together in the end, and then you end up with a final master file that combines all the codings of the different documents. Of course, in all of these scenarios, the project administrator can also be part of the team, but one person in the team needs to take on that role of the project administrator. So maybe fulfilling two roles, team member and project administrator. If codes are duplicated in the process of merging, that's not such a big deal, because codes can be merged. Yeah, you know, the function that we generally need for all kinds of purposes, so we can merge codes as user as well. But we cannot merge documents. So if you start on the wrong foot, that documents were added on different computers, I mean the same documents, and now you want to bring it all together, this is not possible. You end up with duplicate documents, yeah, and then the best basically you can open up the two documents side by side and transfer the coding from the one document to the other manually, and then get rid of the duplicate document. So that's not so nice to do. So just start in the right order and you won't get into that trouble some part. So I'd like you to walk you through project merge and what you need to know about project merge before we look how this looks in ATLAS.ti. So in terms of terminology, there is a master project and the imported project. So basically you start with a master project and add another project. And so the master project needs to be loaded first, and then you start the procedure. The general merge, there's one merge strategy as basically compared to all these different options that there were in version 7. But basically what was kind of the common ground of all of it, they're all objects that are identical, and identical means by the ID they are merged and all others are added. So just to repeat this, because it's very important, when an entity is created in Atlas, that means adding a document, a memo, a code, a network, whatever, this entity receives a unique ID, like a fingerprint. And when merging projects, Atlas compares these IDs. And based on that, the decisions are made. Are these the same entities? Then I can merge them. Are they different? Then I will add them. Yeah, what you see here in the blue box down there is if two coders happen to add the same code, and here the example is Sunshine, then when you merge, you get a Sunshine and a Sunshine 2 code. So you will easily spot the duplicated codes that then can be merged. So here's some rules. So basically groups are always additive. If you have a document group with document 1, 2, 3 and one of same name, of course, this and ID, this document 3 and 4, well, we get a group with documents 1, 2, 3, 4. So also here groups also have IDs. It's not the name, it's the ID basically. So if the project administrator has created some document groups up front and then some team member is changing something in those document groups, well, then you end up with some kind of mix there. So these groups are probably also what you give the instruction, just don't add new groups if you feel like that's important, but don't touch any existing groups. Then the issue is comments. There is a problem with merging comments. Of course, if the master project doesn't have a comment and then somebody wrote a comment in one of the sub-projects for the team members, then in the merge project that code has a comment. But if there has been already a comment for the code in the master project because all codes have been defined, then somebody on the team is changing that comment. Well, then we have a conflict. So Atlas cannot just add these comments to each other. Well, I'm the project administrator, I added codes with definition, and some of my team members modified those codes because, well, maybe they just discovered a typo, or they didn't agree with the definition, or they wanted to add to the definition. Well, then when I'm merging, I need to decide, want I keep do I want to keep the comment from the master project, or do I overwrite it? That's the only two choices I have. And I have only these two choices for all of the entities. So I cannot say, oh, this comment I want to keep, and this comment I want to overwrite, and this one I want to keep. So I can make the keep or overwrite decision only once for all conflicts in the project. So if there has been a code list with definitions, then if I merge, I would always kind of say, well, you know, whatever the team members have been doing, they were not supposed to do it. You should have told them, I mean, you should tell them actually that they're not supposed to do it, then you just overwrite, and then of course their comments are lost in the merge project. They're still there in their sub-project. So you can still check in the sub-project, what did they write, what did they add, and then do that manually afterwards. But a much better strategy would be to tell your team member, please, if there are comments already in the master project, don't change anything. Just add a memo with ideas where you think we need to modify the comment, or where there are issues like typos or whatever. I think those are not really important in an ATLAS project. I mean, important is the analysis part of it. Yeah, so then you can review the memos in the merged project and see maybe where you should modify something. That's a bit easier than going back and forth between project and see where they are different, or doing that from the merge report. So that would be the better option. With quotation comments, it's probably not a big deal, because the chance that somebody had commented the same quotations is probably not as large. So if there hasn't been like a list of quotation with comments already in the master project, you can tell your team members you are free to write comments on quotations. You are free to add any memo that you want, because every memo will be new with a different ID, and then those will be just added to the master project. So you know that's not an issue, but often the trouble is with code comments. Sometimes project administrators clean up projects while the team members are still working. So they clean up the code list and delete something, modify something, remove some codes, but the team members don't know anything about it. They still all have those codes, maybe you even use them for coding. They are still in their projects. And then if you merge everything, even though you deleted code A, B, and C, well, in the merge project, you're going to have it all back again. So all that previous cleanup work you did was just for nothing. Yeah. So do remember, if you want to delete something from a team project, do that after the merge. Clean up the project in the master file, and then send out a new modified master file that doesn't have the objects or the entities that you want to clean up. So from the process itself, when you start merging, you will get a pre-merge summary that tells you whether you have conflicts or not. And now what you see here, that's no conflict, so you can just click on merge and then things are done. And if there are conflict, then you have these two strategies, keep or overwrite. When I demonstrate it in ATLAS, I will produce some conflicts, so we actually do see how it's going to look like. And once the merging is done, usually some housekeeping stuff needs to be done. So the project administrator should go through the code list and check who has added new codes, should they be kept. You can also of course do that in a discussion as a team. Just go through the merge project together and then discuss what you want to keep, where you want to modify code definition, whether you want to add or modify code groups, and so on. Look through the memos added by the team. Are there just comments where the project should be cleaned up? So you can act on those or discuss that with the team and modify the project accordingly. And then, quickly check groups, document code groups, and so on, and to see whether something needs to be cleaned up. And as I said, if there's duplicate codes, that's easy to merge for yourself. But these are the kind of housekeeping tasks that might be done. Clicking on the redundant coding analyzer is probably not a bad idea either, to check whether there's redundant coding that you then also can clean up. And while you clean up the project or also discuss coding with your team, a neat option is also to see the coders in the margin area. So what you see here on the slide is that under the view options in documents, you can activate to show user instead of the icons, and then you did get different colors for the users. And if you hover over, then the name is shown, and then you kind of know, okay, Susanne is blue and Tom is the blue user. No, Susanne is red here, and Tom is, that might be Tom, I'm not sure, and this might be, you know, Clara, and she's always the brown little icon. Yeah, and then you can go through the documents and look at the coding, who has done what. What is often confused is that people look for codings in the code manager. The code manager only has the list of codes, and if they have been set up by the project administrator, they all have the author of the, or as author, the project administrator. If you want to see who has coded what, you need to go to the quotation manager. Yeah, because there you see who actually has created a quotation, and yeah, normally it's probably also that the team members create new quotations. Well, if they haven't, then also the author of the quotation would be all the same. So we have to distinguish between, well, the quotations that are whatever is highlighted in your data, the codes, and then the process of applying the code. That is the coding that has been done, and that's actually what you want to compare. And if you want to, if you go into intercoder agreement, that's exactly what's compared. It's the coding. That's what you can spot here in the margin area. So now the two coders have done their work, and I want to merge those back, that work back into the master project. So I'm going to import the project now that my two team members, Tom and Carol, have been sending to me. And you can merge project bundle files, but I would always first open the project, look at what the other team members have been doing. So that gives me a basis for evaluating if there is a merge conflict, what should I do. So here you see we have coder 1 Tom and coder 2 Carol. And now I can clearly distinguish what the master project is and what are the team member, or which are the team members' projects. So I don't have to rename it here now, because it already has the coder 1 name, I mean. So I imported both of the projects. Normally they are automatically open, just back here in the opening screen, so you can see. Now I have my master project and I have the two coders project. So now quickly inspect those, what they have been doing. So I can see some coding done on document 4. Well, I don't necessarily have to check all the coding, but so that you just see. And then I open the code manager to see. So I actually see that that coder has added a code color. Then there are actually 3 codes in that code group, and I know it now because I did it. I modified this code definition, so you can see what happens now if I merge this project, because we're going to have a conflict and how we can solve this. Yeah. So that is the project of Tom, and let's quickly take a look at Carol's project. Also, she has coded document 4. Document 2 is 4 quotes here. Let's check. Yeah, none of them actually has added a code here, but we see the coding that was done. And also Carol added some code colors here. The groups are untouched, and yeah, the code definitions are as they were to begin with. So now I close this project again, so it's only to inspect it. So now you start with the master project. So I'm now going to start the merge process and merge the project with the project of Code 1. And now you see this option here that's automatically activated, create a snapshot of your current project before the merge. So this creates, again, like an internal backup copy of your original project in case something is going wrong with the merge and you realized later, and after you can do undo, so you have a backup copy of your original one. So if you just leave it for now, this is not a project bundle file, it is a project file that is internal in the Atlas environment, which means it is stored in the library as a project. So I now go to merge, and now my merge report comes up on another screen. So here it is. So I have now 3 conflicts. 2 code colors were changed and the comment was changed. And if I now leave this option keep, means my master project wins, so that's what's here highlighted, so my original comment wins. But then I lose whatever the Tom has written and the coloring of the code. If I say overwrite, then I lose my comment and the coloring of the codes come in and the modified comment. But as I mentioned before, with team projects, if you have a list of codes that you agreed on, and of course also the definitions, nobody should change those definitions. Yeah. Instruct your team members to write a memo if they have any ideas or any wishes to change anything. So I now just keep whatever's in the master project and I say merge, and then I will get this merge report. Yeah, so you get a detailed report of what has been done. You can save that report or you can just close it if you don't want to review this again. So let's now look at the codes. Yeah, so the code hasn't changed, the definitions is still the same here, and groups are additive as I presented in the slides. So here we still have that third code here in that group. So now I can proceed and merge code to project. So now I don't actually want to create another snapshot of this. I still have my original. I have the each team project as project bundle, so I don't have to have a snapshot of this intermediate state. So here we also get some conflicts, and these are all the code colors. So now I could just say, well, maybe the code colors are fine that the second coder has done. So I now actually want to override my non-existing code colors with the code colors the second coder has done. But there were no other conflicts here. Yeah, but if now, of course, Carol would have also modified a code comment, I wouldn't be able to keep her code colors. So now I say merge. Yeah, I again get a merge report. And now I actually see that now all codes have colors. The group is still the same, and that because that came in the previous merge. And now actually let's take a look at the coding. Yeah, here we actually see some redundant coding. And now I show you how you actually can, clicked on view here, show user, and now we see that is Carol, and that's Tom. Yeah, so Tom is a blue user, so you have to just hover over the the icon for the user, so you see who has coded what. And now I want to clean up actually the redundant coding, so I go to Tools and Support, and I find redundant codings here, and so Atlas picks up on the one instance, so I can say unlink either the left or right quotation or decide for merge, so I get both of it. And so we see now that we have one long quotation now from Carol, because Carol originally had the longer one, and then the other now got merged into it. Yeah, so that is kind of the cleaning up you need to do, or look through if you do a team project, and then you can save this project. And normally it would not be the same date, but of course if I export it now again, it will be the same date. So if you do, let me just try 5 p.m. If you do merge and export again on the same date, you may actually also want to add the time. Otherwise you would overwrite one project with another. So let me close this project so you see what I have in my library now. So we have the original project that we have created, and then we have the snapshot of it before the merge. So we actually here get a date and time, because a snapshot is a snapshot of a moment in time. So that's why Atlas gives you a precise time. And then we have the two bundles that we actually imported, and now the new version of our master project.